Welcome back to another one of the Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy series. Today we're gonna do episode 24, which is what? Dun dun dun. Facing fears. Alright. This is part of the How to Stop Being a Weakling series, well, chapter. Parts about how to stop being weak, right? Reclaiming your power, stop being weak, and facing fears. So let's jump into it. First, you got fear. Right? What is fear? Do you ever struggle to face that fear lurking around you? Is it stopping you from doing what you want to do? I know I struggle with it every day. I struggle with fear every day. It stops me from doing things that I want to do. It's natural to experience fear. Everyone experiences fear. If you don't experience fear, you're probably a psychopath, which is you need to maybe get some help. Or I don't know, you could probably operate in society without it. So you got what two kinds of fears. Right? Let's take a look at the first fear. What is the first fear? The first fear is called, well, is a healthy fear, and the healthy fear is a warning that danger might be approaching. For example, if a tiger is hiding there waiting to pounce on you, and you have that feeling, you may sense that danger. That's healthy fear. That is what you should have. That's a warning system, right? That danger is coming. But then you've got this other fear. And this other fear is called, or Robert Glover calls it, memory fear. Why is it called memory fear? Because it comes from your childhood abandonment experiences, and it's a different kind of fear. It's a fear that is crippling, right? It stops you from being who you are, doing the things you want to do, even something as simple as asking someone to repeat what they said or ordering a coffee can cause this crippling massive amounts of stress or fear. Right? Well, for me it did anyway, right? For me it did. I used to struggle with this a lot. This is a type of fear, and this fear is very much out there in the nice guys. No, 99.9% of nice guys have this kind of fear. Maybe not to my extent where it's you struggle to order a coffee, but they have this fear. Well, let's go to the next one. So, what were some of the fears I had? Right, we're gonna look at that. So, we're gonna look at it from my perspective. See, my way of looking at it, or things that had happened to me. So, I was fearful and worried about what other people thought of me. I mean, I'm still kind of am. I'm still bullying through that. But I'd go along with what everyone else wanted, even if I didn't like it. Like if I didn't like drinking, I would still drink because that is what everyone was doing. You can't be the odd one out. I was always upset. Ah, sorry. I was always upset to. Sorry. I was always scared to upset my teachers in school, even if there was nothing wrong with what I was doing. I still had this kind of fear, still had to get their permission in case it rocked the boat, causing them to shout at me, making me the bad person. This fear ties into that toxic shame experience, and then you believe you are the problem. Otherwise, like, sure, it's okay. Maybe ask for permission. Just before we do something, let's do that. So, I mean, come on, the basic need of going to the toilet, in my opinion, you shouldn't have to always ask. You can inform the teacher like, "Hey, I'm going to the toilet." Okay, up to you, right? Another massive fear I had with regards to responsibility. This was massive. I avoided the responsibility of anything like the plague. I couldn't handle having to make decisions in case I made a mistake. Um, you know, I was fearful that everyone would laugh at me and then leave me. And it may not seem like a big deal, this fear, but it can affect a lot of areas in your lives or in our lives. In my life, it did. For example, back to the coffee. For example, when I was ordering coffee, I would try to order as fast as possible or pay as fast as possible so the person behind me wouldn't get angry at the waiting. And as a result, I would become flustered and you would like panic and I'd often make mistakes or struggle to get the money out, etc. Uh, it would, and if my order was wrong, I could never go back and tell the person behind the counter that they made a mistake, or you know based on purely like what would they think or what would the other people around me think that I'm going back and telling them that they made a mistake, right? A lot of these fear-based beliefs, I mean, it sounds stupid what I'm saying, but a lot of these fear-based beliefs are irrational. You don't realize it at the time until you get a zoomed out view of it because you're so close to the situation. You don't get it until you zoom out. Um, as a nice guy, you another thing I would do is I would also replay. I'd often replay conversations or interactions I had, you know, with people in my head, and I would shame or blame myself for things I said or did. Like, why did you have to say that? Now they think you're well. Now they think you're an idiot. Um, or why did you try and press them? You just made yourself look like a fool. It got worse the older I got, where eventually, I mean, this is a classic one that's happening today, is I just started avoiding everything, almost everything. I was turned to computer games, where I played. I mean, it was a few years ago. It was basically 1 year. That's what I did. I played games all day, every day. I never did anything else. I did obviously had part time work that I did, but I turned to computer games. And, even that I played. I like to play MMOs, which should be a multiplayer or you play with friends or a group. But I was always too scared to play with other people in case I did something wrong in a raid or so. Eventually, I avoided playing with people in games. Oh, I pressed the wrong one. Um, so because of these fears, I try to avoid new situations. I stuck to my comfort zone. I avoided or I procrastinated. I tried. I just left stuff. I tried to control the uncontrollable. Um, these are all like coping mechanisms for nice guys, right? To play it safe in life and not get into dangerous waters by bringing up the fears they got as children. So nice guys play it safe. We don't want anything that can bring up those feelings we had or experienced in our early childhood. So we try to avoid all of that. Um, I did all the coping mechanisms. These are all coping mechanisms. This fear just creates coping mechanisms, which you're gonna have to zoom out to see. Let's take a look at the next one. So that was the fears I had. Okay, the next one is the only way out. I found that the only way out of getting out of this is just facing your fears and pushing yourself. Okay, I do know that this is a lot easier said than done. It's extremely difficult, or it can be really difficult to face a fear, especially those deep rooted ones. I had to work my way up to the deep ones. I don't suggest tackling unless you are able to, but tackling the deep rooted ones, I had to work my way up. And what happens is the more you challenge your fears, the less frightening the fear becomes and has less control over your life. The more confident you grow, and you begin to handle your fears you might have. So, for example, teaching. When I first started teaching, my first class or demo class, I absolutely froze in fear. I could not speak, I could not do anything. I had another assistant coach or teacher, and she had to start the lesson. And so eventually I was able to just take over the lesson, but that fear was so crippling. And then over time of obviously I lost that job, but over time of just keep on pushing through and doing it, now I can walk into a class. I still do have that kind of nervous feeling when the start, but I know how to do it. I can handle it. I know I can handle it. You know, you begin to grow to handle that crippling fear of the things, in life. And as I said, you start small and then you start tackling them as you go along, and then you can go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. So essentially that is the way out. Um, Sounds a lot easier than it is. It takes a lot of reflection, introspection, and for just forcing yourself to do it. And one of the things that can help is a mantra. So you can use a mantra to help you through facing your fears. And with using this mantra, it starts to form the belief, right? It combats that nice guy belief or that fear belief that you can handle whatever you're afraid of. Right? So my mantra, my personal mantra I use is, I got this. No matter what happens, I've got this. And I just keep repeating that to myself with anything, whether it's having to go on stage in front of all parents and teachers and students to talk. I To this day I still struggle with public speaking. It's one of the things I hate the most, is having to go on that stage in front of the parents or teachers. Um, but what I just repeat in my head constantly is, I've got this, I've got this. No matter what happens, I've got this. I can handle it, I've got it. Right? So if you continue to tell yourself, you got this whilst you are facing these fears, it starts to create this belief inside yourself that you can handle whatever may happen. I use it for all fears, big, small, medium, all my fears. I use this. I have to stand in front, as I said, I have to stand in front of the class, even if I just have to make decisions in my life, right? So now I can order coffee with ease. I've conquered that fear. I'm not worried about being slow, being fast, the person behind me. Obviously, if I don't purposely take long, but I'm not struggling, rushing. Oh crap, I gotta get it done quick. No, it's like, okay, all right, how much is it? All right, here's the money. Great, thanks for the coffee. Cheers. Right? Calm, collective, nice. And eventually you'll get to that point. Baby steps, baby steps. So that is the only way out. That's a mantra. Just keep doing it. You'll create this belief. It's basically like the what do they call it? Affirmations. However, with the affirmations or with this mantra, you have to do the steps. Start pushing yourself. Small steps, small steps. You don't have to get it right immediately. Just push yourself small steps. All right. The next section is the exercise and the steps you can take. Here we go. The exercise. Dun, 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 dun. So here is an exercise you can do to get started in confronting your fears and build up that base of confidence. Right? So step one. This is a normal one. Grab a pen and or a paper or a journal. I personally recommend have a journal for all these exercises. Sorry. I have a journal for it. Write down a few fears that have been stopping you from doing what you want. Right? Again, you can start small. Um, grabbing that big fear is going to take a lot of push. Unless you can completely change your environment, I would say start small with the small ones. If you can change your environment completely, you might be able to conquer those big ones from the beginning. But if you're in the same environment as normal, go with the small ones, right? Write down a few fears that have been stopping you from doing what you want, right? Step two, think of a mantra you can use for yourself. Make it personal. One that holds meaning to you. Alternatively, you can use the one I use, which is I got this no matter what happens, I've got this. You can write that down in your journal, and I would recommend writing it on a small piece of paper that you can keep with you, that you can keep just looking at it, reading it when you start fearing, just to get yourself and your mind into that routine of repeating it when something happens. You can stick it everywhere if you want. Step three: write the fears in order of difficulty. Right? So you have a few fears that you wrote down. Write them from easy to hard, and then you start with the easy ones. Just pick one and work your way up. Pick one fear and just force yourself to confront it, and just keep confronting it until you find yourself. So that's step four. Confront the fear you chose, and when you confront the fear, repeat the mantra you have chosen. Keep repeating it, and whenever you start wavering, until keep repeating it whenever you start wavering, and do this until you don't feel the fear anymore. Right? It doesn't have that crippling fear. You can still feel a bit of discomfort, maybe like the butterfly feeling, like that's fine. But as long as you can do it, just get it done with. And then once you conquer that, then you would go to the next one. And then once you start feeling comfortable with that one, then you go to the next one, and this builds up that confidence where you can handle anything that happens. This will compound over time until you build a solid base of confidence, right? And you are able to face all of those coping mechanisms. What are the coping mechanisms, right? Avoiding new situations, sticking to your comfort zone, avoiding or procrastination, trying to control the uncontrollable. These are all coping mechanisms. This comfort zone one is a massive one that you need to confront. Right? You need to be on the edge of your comfort zone, not too far out, but not in. It's just on that edge, pushing yourself. But you need, again, you work your way up to that. And then what will happen is you will start to look forward to the challenges of life, right? Like, wow, this is going. You become comfortable in that new situation, and you just let things that you can't control be. Right? You're not stressing over, oh crap, this can happen. This can happen. What if this person looks at me like this? No, it's just you let it be. I got this. I've got it. I can handle it. Right? And this is obviously what this is one of the steps I discovered to stop being fearful. And this is in the book of The No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. And these are one of the steps. Yeah, that's it for this one. Um, Let me know what you think. Maybe comment down below. What are some of your fears um, that you've had to deal with? Share down below. We can talk about that. And yeah, thanks for joining. And I hope you confront your fears. See you in the next one.